Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this lesson. Today I am going to take up the topic Young Poets, which is written by Todd Michael St. Pierre. Children, this poem is for my tiny tots. So in this particular poem, the poet has explained about the nature. Todd Michael St. Pierre, he writes the poem for the young poets like you people, isn't it? You all also must be writing some poets, some poems, some verses, trying to put it into your poem, and I'm sure some of you must also be a very good poet. So children, for just like you people, I am explaining you about this poem. And before I begin, let me ask you, have you subscribed to my channel? If you have not subscribed up till now, then please do. And watch the video till end. And press the like button if you have liked it. And yes, don't forget to hit the bell icon for my latest notification. And do put your valuable comments below. So children, let us start with this beautiful poem, Young Poets. First of all, before starting the poem, let me tell you something about the poet, Todd Michael St. Pierre, why he has written this poem. He writes this poem for the young poets to show how the power of our words can help us work for a good cause, that is conserving nature. He persuades young poets to write poems more about nature and its conservation so that the world realizes the problem of deforestation, the problem of how people are just spoiling the earth by cutting away the forest. Yes, children, now I will tell you the summary of the poem, Young Poets. What does the poet explain in this particular poem? So listen carefully. He explains how Mother Nature can't speak. Thus, we have to become their voice and speak what they would speak if they had the ability to speak. He tells us to be proud of our movement, make peace in the world, and be careful of our choices. He tells us to write how we still have hope to make everything better and speak loud so that everyone hears and knows about it. We become nature's voice. So children, whatever you speak can be audible to everyone. But what does the nature speak? The trees, the birds, we are not able to understand. So, the poet says that we have to become their voice and speak on their behalf so that the humankind hears about them, what they would like to speak. We become nature's voice. He tells us to boost our confidence and speak with respect for the forest and wildlife within it. He tells us to never stop dreaming. Yes, children. Now, if you dream higher, only then you can achieve things. So, you should always dream high. This is what the poet tells all the youngsters, to dream high and achieve your target. Similarly, you should dream high and save Mother Nature. He tells us to speak with courage, be confident, and write a cause and make sure it is heard. He tells us we have to stand up for clean air and rivers with a poem or a song. Just make sure our message to the world is delivered. He tells us to speak for the future though we are young. He explains how our poems and songs are the words of Mother Nature. He tells us the world is still unknown to the problem and they wait to hear our verses. Words possess power. We can right the wrongs and change them. He tells us to lead and teach the world with courage. Speak for the creatures which never got the right to speech. He ends the poem by telling us that we as defenders of earth should write the song to conserve our forest, to conserve our planet, and to save all the nature elements which cannot speak. So children, the words have power, and if you can speak, the word speak, if you see in this poem, has been given 12 times, has been written 12 times, and the words 3 times. So that makes us think that the words speak and words are the main words in the poem, because the little young poets describe a new person that has taken the life of poetry. You know, children, Todd Michael St. Pierre, he writes poems, songs, and plays for children. He is a storyteller at schools throughout the southern United States. Among the published works are Somewhere, as told by Garrett, The Parrot, and the Louisiana State Bird Beauty Pageant. Cypress Street is a part of collection of A Tree House of the Moon, and A Tree House of the Moon, his collection of book. This poem has also been taken from this book itself. And children, now let us move towards the line by line explanation of the poem. So the first 2 lines of the poem is, you speak for the lakes, the trees, and the birds. You say what they had say. They would say if they had the words. So children, in this particular line, what we have to see to it is that you have to imagine yourself and feel, and that you are speaking for lakes, means you are a lake, you are a tree, and you are also a bird. So what will you do to save the environment? You know, children, better environment means better tomorrow. So we have to save the planet. And the greatest threat to our environment, to our planet, is the belief that someone else will save it. But that is not true. We all have to save this beautiful world. We have to preserve and we have to cherish the pale blue dot, because we all know that this is the only home we have ever known. Rest no other land is going to, no other planet is going to keep us, or life is possible. We all know that Earth is the only unique planet where life is possible. So in these 2 lines, the poet says, you speak for the lakes, the trees, and the birds. You say what they would say if they had words. So the lakes, see, we don't have to make it dirty. The trees, we do not have to cut them. We should not cut them. And the birds, if we are going to save the forest, if we are going to plant more trees, then in that case, what will happen? We all know that plants is a life-giving plant. Plant gives us life, it gives us food, it gives us shelter, it gives the home to the birds and animals. Similarly, we should try our best not to pollute the lakes, not to cut the trees, and to see that the beautiful flora and fauna are present, which are present into our environment, should be saved. So the line, you speak for the lakes, the trees and the birds, you say what they say if they had the words. So in this line, the poet says that we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. So children, the power of words possesses the truth of this particular statement. Now the question asked on this lines may be: number 1, name the poem and the poet. So you know what the poem is. The poem is Young Poets, and which is written by Todd Michael St. Pierre. My next question on this line is: who does you refer to? So here the correct answer is you refers to the young poets being addressed in the poem. My next question is: who are they in this sentence? So the correct answer is they in this sentence refers to the lakes, trees and birds, as well as other elements of nature and wildlife that cannot speak for themselves. My next question is: what do you think they would say if they had the words? And so the correct answer is, if they had the words, they means children, the nature, that is the lake, trees, birds. If they had the words, they would likely express their need for preservation, the importance of maintaining a healthy and balanced ecosystem, and a plea for humans to live in harmony with the environment. They might also convey the beauty, wisdom, and interconnectedness of the natural world. So, children, I hope you have understood these two lines. Now, let us move towards the next line. So, children, my next line is: make peace and be proud. Choose well every choice. Speak hope and speak loud. You are nature's voice. So, the poet Todd Michael tells every little young poet that you have to make peace and you have to be proud. You have to choose well and you have a choice to choose the right thing. You have to speak about hope, and that too you have to speak aloud. Why is it like this? It is because earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. So children, you know the activist is not the man who says that the river is dirty, but activist is the man who cleans up the river. Means to say that a nation that destroys its soil destroys itself. Forests are the lungs of our land, purifying the air and giving fresh strength to our people. So children, if every day were the Earth Day, then we wouldn't be in a mess as we are now. So means to say that you have to be proud, you have to speak on behalf of the nature to save the environment. On this line, the line, you are nature's voice. Now, on this line, the question may be asked to you as: identify the figure of speech used by the poet here. So the correct answer is personification. My next question is: what does he mean by this statement? That is, you are nature's voice. What does it mean? So the correct answer is the poet attributes the voice of the young poets to represent the voice of the nature. Means to say that The poet wants that every little young children should understand the nature, should speak on their behalf so that we can save our beautiful earth. So my next line is, speak with respect now for jungles and streams. Speak for all wildlife and dream giant dreams. So children, in this line, why should we speak about the jungles with respect? Why does Poet-Todd Pierre wants us to speak about the jungle with respect? So it is quite obvious. We speak jungle with respect because there are lots of trees which provides us oxygen, which is very important for us, and trees clear our environment air. If there will be no tree, we will die. As you all know children, that oxygen is very important for all living being to breathe, and if oxygen is not there, so we will also be not there. The line, speak for all wildlife and dream giant dreams. So the poet means to say that wildlife is something which man cannot construct. Once it is gone forever. Man can rebuild a pyramid, but he cannot rebuild ecology or a giraffe. So the greatness of a nation can be judged by the way its animals are treated. So children, it is our duty to preserve this beautiful wildlife and to see and to dream giant dreams. Dream giant dream means we should always dream good things. We should always dream higher things, to see to it that our environment are preserved and our coming generations are also going to enjoy the same thing what we have enjoyed. My next line is, speak up with great courage, speak up and speak out. Write with a whisper or write with a shout. So here what the poet means to say that the poet uses strong metaphors to fill courage among the people. So children, you should be fully determined, you should have full courage to speak up your word. Now what is the meaning of speak up and speak out? So over here the word speak up means to say that you have to ask yourself that what you are speaking is up to the mark or not. So when you are speaking with courage, you have to take the time to practice that. You have to gain confidence amongst yourself, and then you have to speak clearly and in direct motion. What you have to speak about? You have to speak up that the poet encourages the oppressed and the silenced people. So you have to speak for forest, you have to speak for the environment. So over here the poet means to say that courage is not the absence of fear, it is the ability to face or overcome it and finish your job. Standing up for your beliefs, being clear about your work, and using your competencies to shape conversations and outcomes is what skillful communication is all about. And you children, as young poets, you have to use this skill. Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak out. Courage is what it takes to sit down and listen. So it is very important for you to speak up about the environment and how to save the environment. So write with a whisper or write with a shout means to say that whether you speak slowly and silently or you shout and speak, for the trees, for the birds, for the rivers, and for the environment. It is up to you, but you have to convince the world that we have to save the environment. Now, the line, stand up, young poets, for clean air and rivers, free verse or lyric, your message delivers. So, here the poet wants to tell us, to all the young poets, the poet says that we have to stand up for the clean air and rivers with a poem or a song. Just make sure our message to the world is delivered. He tells us to speak for the future, though we are young. He explains how our poems and songs are the words of Mother Nature. So, in order to save our Mother Nature, we have to write a verse or a song for our Mother Nature, for saving our earth, for saving our planet, trees, birds, rivers, and everything. The line, truth to the future citizens of earth, speak of your freedom and your friends and self-worth. So here, children, what the poet wants us is that, according to the poet, the young poets must stand up for the violence against nature. They should stand up against people who harm the nature. So the poet is asking the readers to speak for the lakes, trees, birds, jungles, and streams, to speak for the clean air and rivers. And so the poet says that you should be truth to the future citizens of the earth. Now, children, what does the word, who are the future citizens mentioned by the poet here? So here the future citizens mentioned by the poet are the young poets. My next question arises on this line is, what truth is the poet asking the readers to speak of? And the answer to this question is, according to the poet, the young poets must stand up for the violence against nature. They should stand up against people who harm the nature. So, what are the values? My next question is, what are the ideals or values that the poet is asking the reader to speak about? And the answer to this question is, the poet is asking the readers to speak for the lakes, trees, birds, jungles, and streams, to speak for the clean air and rivers. The line, speak for tomorrow, and though you are still young, speak for the forest, your pen is her tongue. So, children, in this line, the poet says that he is asking the readers to speak for the forest because many people are cutting trees, and so it is needed to speak about the forest. Your pen is her tongue means to say that my pen is anybody else's tongue, means my pen is writing, her tongue is speaking what I am writing with my pen. The forest is speaking, the trees are speaking what I am writing with my pen. So the question set on these two lines are, the line is, your pen is her tongue. So my question is, what does the poet mean by this line? So the answer to this question is, earth along with its forest, streams and rivers, wildlife, birds and sea creatures suffers silently at the hands of humanity. He asks the young poets to be their voice and let their poetic lyrics communicate the plight of the earth and increase awareness amongst mankind to conserve and protect the earth and its resources. The line, the world waits to hear your songs still unsung. Words possesses power, you can right the wrongs. So here the poet means to say that the world waits to hear your song still unsung, means the song is still not sung. The poem is still not written. The verses have still to be written. And the words possesses power. It is inevitable truth. Some fights can only be fought and won by the power of words. That is how words play a vital role in winning some of the very difficult situations. So, here, children, what the poet means to speak is that you have to become the voice of the nature. You have to speak on their behalf that what they really want, how they can be saved, how they can be used to do their work, what do these nature work, that is the trees, the rivers, the lakes, the mountains, what do they want. So you have to write from on their behalf to speak that they also want to be saved for the future generations to come, so that the human beings do not harm them. Now the question is, on this two lines, why does the poet think the reader's songs are still unsung in the poem Young Poets? So the answer to this question is, the poet thinks that the reader's songs are unsung because no one discusses on this topic, and it is a topic about which we rarely discuss. Thus, the songs and poems composed on nature are not very praised or given attention, and the songs and poems are unsung. So he tells the young poets to sing in the voice of the nature to save the environment. Yes, children. Now my next lines are teachers and leaders with poems and with songs. So the poet says that you have to teach us and lead us with poems and with songs. Means you have to see to it that the young poets have to speak on behalf of the nature. Like for example, how does the tree advise us? The advice from a tree is stand tall and proud, sink your roots into the earth, be content and your natural beauty, go out on a limb, drink plenty of water, remember your roots enjoy the view. So it means to say that one should be like a tree, stand grounded, stay grounded, connected with their roots, go out on a limb, bend before you break, turn over a new leaf, enjoy the view for growing. So similarly, the poet wants us also to speak on behalf of this nature, that to teach us and lead us, all the young poets, they have to teach to the world, they have to lead to the world with poems and with their songs, that how we can be good, how can we can be kind to the environment, to the nature. Speak now for nature, for trees and for birds. Defenders of the earth, choose carefully your words. So this means to say that this is the time when the young poets have to choose, have to see to it that they are speaking for the trees, for the birds, for the streams, for the mountains. Then defenders of the earth, choose carefully your words. So defenders of the earth means people who protect a place or who support a person, an idea or a plan. For example, Sundarlal Bahuguna was an Indian environmentalist who promoted Chipko movement in 1970s. for the preservation of the forests in the Himalayas. The protesters were primarily women, defenders of the forest who hugged the trees to prevent their felling. So children, this means to say that all the young poets, they have to stand up, and by means of their verses, by means of their song, they have to save the Mother Earth. Now the question arises on this particular lines is, who is the defender of the earth? So the correct answer is the young poets. My next question is, why do these defenders have to choose the words carefully? So the answer to this question is, words have the power to not only create or disrupt a thought, but also to encourage or discourage an action. And so, words may be chosen wisely with extreme thoughtfulness to perform an action or thought in favor of nature. So children, now my next question is, to whom is the poet speaking through this poem? What, according to the poem, is the main responsibility of this group? And the answer to this question is, the poet is speaking to the young poets, imploring them to be the mouthpiece of nature and speak up against human beings' careless attitude towards flora and fauna. For the poet, it is that responsibility of the young poets to be defenders of the earth, give hope to the elements of nature and encourage humankind to preserve it for the benefit of tomorrow. My next question is, according to the poet, who will be influenced by the writing of the young poets of the present time? So the answer to this question is, the whole world will be influenced by the writing of the young poets of the present time. He visions the young poets to speak now for nature, for trees, and for birds, so that humankind can be taught and led into a promising harmonious tomorrow. My next question is, name the poem poet and from where the poem is taken from. So the answer to this question is, the name of the poem is Young Poets. The name of the poet is Todd Michael St. Pierre. The poem is taken from A Tree House on the Moon. And my last question is, what is the rhyming scheme of the poem? And the answer is AABB. So dear children, with these words I end my lesson. Hope this lesson will be beneficial for you in your studies and it will help you to excel. Do like, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you.